Hey, my friends, I was having this major download today, so I thought I'd jump in quickly and record this because I have got so many gems for you. And I was going to do a fancy PowerPoint and all the rest of it, but I was like, nope, nope, not today. You are just going to get this unfiltered, raw, and literally from my brain. And I'm going to try and make it as quick as possible, or at the very least, I'll chop it up into little segments. And yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll actually give you a PDF or worksheet to go with each little segment. But let's just see how this rolls. So I'm calling this currency for couples. And when you think about currency is all around value. Like when you think about currency in terms of money, money is valuable in the fact that it can buy us things. We can we can give to charity. We can give it to someone else, and then when we give that, we receive something in return for it. So basically, it's value, right? Currency for couples, value for couples. And the way that I see currency for couples, so as I've been learning about coaching and around creating my business as an entrepreneur, I've been learning about different emotions that are a currency, like so really, really valuable in creating something that you want. And so for me, as a business owner, leaning into discomfort is a huge currency or a huge emotion to create from, because there's so many opportunities for growth when you move through a comfort zone, obviously, to go through the unknown to shift into a different growth zone. So that's kind of like how I want to give you the idea around what currency actually is. Now, when you think about relationships, I kind of also want to put in context this is like the energetics of a relationship, where people are energy, and energy is an exchange, and it's felt. Energy is all around us, and energy is also emotion. So when we talk about it's how we feel, and it's all around us, it's energy is an emotion, and emotion actually fuels us to behave the way that we behave or the way that we don't behave. So it's like the way that we show up as. And when, of course, we show up a certain way, or we have a certain behavior, we do things the way that we do or not do, our actions actually determine the quality of our relationships. So here's a few things that I believe are currency for couples. And I say this from the viewpoint where there's say two people in a relationship or in a marriage or in a partnership. And when you think about just two people at this point in time, is there's you, and then there's them. And then there's that crossover. There's that little piece in the middle where you cross over to become, I suppose, in a sense, one, which isn't necessarily true. Like you have some commonalities and you have some similarities. Well, basically, there's, there is a crossover, but you are still you, they are still them. And then there's who you become when you're together in a relationship. The first one that I want to share with you around currency is to figure out how to argue better. Now, I actually listened to a podcast this week by Brooke Castillo, and I could share what that is. It is episode, so Brooke Castillo, the Life Coach School, it is episode number 432. So it's pretty recent. This is dated the 28th of July, 2022. Go in there and listen to that podcast. It is brilliant. It's short. It is very succinct, and she makes some really, really good points. And I haven't always been a good arguer. In actual fact, I've been a terrible person with arguing, and only because I really didn't know how to argue. And arguing was always really hard and it was awkward, and it generally ended up really badly, like either, me slamming the door, me walking out, me throwing something. I had literally had no idea how to argue better. And really the whole point of it is leaning into difficult conversations together and knowing that, like each of us has freedom of speech and the other person isn't able to control it. This physically is a law. We cannot control another person. When we let go of like trying to control another person and really lean into what are they saying? What am I hearing? What am I making that mean? Because when you lean into difficult conversations, there is so much to learn. There's so much to learn about you, the way in which you argue, what's coming up for you, why are you behaving this way, why are you acting this way, why are you saying the things that you're saying, and basically, what are you hearing? What are you hearing when they say something, and what are you making it mean? There is so much gold in that. And so there you go. That's currency number one for couples, is figure out how to argue better. Lean into the difficult conversations because there is so much to learn. All right, number two is a part of the law of manifestation. So manifestation is creation. And this is simply give and receive. And when it comes to the energetics of a relationship, I think about what feels good to give. So this isn't given because it makes them happy. This is giving because it feels good to you. And when you receive that energy back, it's actually a reflection of you. When you give something because it feels good, generally you'll get something that feels good as well. When you think about negative energy or negative emotion, if you give negative, generally you actually receive negative too. So you might think about like a time you might have been in a performance review or be going for a pay rise or something like that. When someone gives you what could be classed as criticism or really is feedback, and you receive it in a way that feels negative for you because the way that they're giving it feels negative, automatically you will give back a response that just mirrors that negativity. So this is very much the same concept, where when you give because it feels good, you'll actually receive something back that's just as amazing. Okay, so that is number two for currency for couples. Right. Number three is, and I coach on this a shit ton, is dropping into feminine energy. And it's very easy, in my mind, it's very easy to have a lot of masculine energy. That was the way that I was raised. That was it was the work, the work environment that I was in. I worked with a lot of men all the time. So I had this very masculine, and I even think in terms of my fire sign, fire, I'm an Aries. So that has a lot of masculine energy. It's a lot of action taking. So I'm an action taker, and quite often in a relationship, that actual action piece shows up a lot. Like I want to do something. I want to fix something. I want to I really want to act on it. So to drop into feminine energy is, for many people, is a skill set. And it is one of the most important parts of being in a relationship, is to know when you think about where yin and yang, is to know which parts of your relationship require masculine energy, and then what parts of your relationship can you really drop into that zone of feminine energy. And this isn't just for females, because feminine energy is actually something for males too. And I know a lot of men, they would have been conditioned from their childhood to not cry and to toughen up. And so to drop into feminine energy can often be quite difficult because it's not a learned skill. Now, when you think about masculine versus feminine energy, I want you to think about it this way. So, feminine energy might look like this, like, no, let's go to the masculine energy. So it's really focused, it's confident, might be quite logical, very assertive, maybe even comes across as passive aggressive. And, you really want to be clear about things like you need to have a goal, a plan, things like that. So that's very masculine energy when it comes to any relationship. And as a couple, as a, when you're actually in a marriage or in a loving relationship with a person, dropping into feminine energy can be difficult, like I said, and it's very emotional. So we learn how to be, and Brene probably says this the best, is you really drop into this place where you become vulnerable, and there's a lot of work to do around guilt and shame. Go and check out a lot of her work, but really what I'm trying to get at is it's very emotional. It's a very vulnerable state to be in. And of course, our primitive brains are made to keep us safe. So when we haven't learned how to be vulnerable, it's a really awful space to be in. It's really uncomfortable, but there is such currency from dropping into that state. Some other emotions that I'm also working with at the moment is around surrendering, really letting go of that control, and the way that the way that you think it needs to be is just surrendering to like what it actually is. It just is. it just is exactly how it is. Can't fight reality, and learning to be really, rather than that action taker, is to be still. And I know this is a lot of work that I've had to do, is decondition myself from doing the work all the time, trying to get further ahead, in the sense where you're really, really pushing and pulling energy. So those are just some types of energy that you might want to consider when you think about masculine and feminine energy. All right, so that's number 3.